It was around 30 years ago that my parents moved from Sydney to a small country town called Lansdowne, around 2.5 hours northwest of Newcastle, where they purchased their first property together. My dad, a horticulturist by trade, immediately set out to plan our small acreage so it could be self-sustainable, with a long-term goal that we could one day provide ourselves with all the fresh fruit and vegetables that we could ever need. And having access to fresh food and clean water was the most concern that he mentioned to us. I remember spending long days as a kid working out with my parents, alongside my brother as well, helping them to plant seedlings, pick fresh fruit, and watering the plants in order to help them survive. At the same time, getting to pick the fresh produce and taste it as we worked, a sense of reward for all our hard work. The vision for my project is to create a community food hub and education centre, one that revitalises and gives new meaning to the suburban shopping centre. And through the use of an existing shopping centre, it provides a strategy for the future reuse of these spaces. The project site is situated at Ellamore Vale, a small suburban community that is located 9 kilometres southwest of Newcastle. The shopping centre is positioned set back 4 metres from the street and below the road line. The area used to be used, before it was a residential suburb, as a chicken farm and cattle farming and coal mining. And by the 1960s, the school and the other facilities within the suburb had been established. It wasn't until 1979 that the small suburban shopping centre was built. So this is the site. Very good access to parklands on the south. It has access to the Ironbark Creek also. The existing shopping centre itself is dominated largely by car parks, and it's actually set back so far from the road that it's actually quite hard to acknowledge it as a passerby. These are just some photos of the existing shopping centre. As you can see, it's underutilised and offers no greater good to the community other than the mere convenience factor. The shopping centre is living testament to the physical domination of consumption upon the urban fabric, and as our obsession with these spaces grows, so does our demand for them to offer more, leading to the creation of mega malls and big town centres. As a result, the decline of the small-scale suburban shopping centre is imminent. Most of the food that we consume in Australia is not only being transported long distances to our plates, but what goes into their food and who actually produces it is hidden from us. Eating locally can be beneficial to both the environment and our health. It also helps to establish new local industries, providing employment and helping to generate a stronger sense of community amongst our citizens. This project places an emphasis on the 6 stages of local food production. These are community, education, growth, harvest, distribution and consumption, with each stage represented throughout the journey within the site. The project intends to be an incubator for growth in both the processes of food production and the development of communities. It creates a prototype for a building that can be easily adapted and implemented into any suburban shopping centre as a remedy. The building utilises a linear bridge-like structure, also known as the education spine, along with a series of interconnected spaces and experiences as the incubator for growth. It allows the user to transport themselves from the street level of the former shopping centre, which has now become a fresh food marketplace. The existing site that was once dominated by car parks has now been transformed into a place of food production, allowing for abundances of fruit, nuts, grains and vegetables to be grown and harvested on the existing site and surrounding parklands. As the user enters the bridge from the street, they are exposed immediately to an array of different smells and visual festivities. Confronted by a series of vertical gardens, aquaponic systems and raised garden beds, the user is encouraged to engage and interact with these different systems through a hands-on learning process. Confronted by a series the materials used within these spaces are intended to be evocative, tactile and invigorating for the users. The juxtaposition between the polycarbonate facade, rough formed concrete walls, aged copper windows and polished concrete floors create a mix of different textures, and through the controlled use of light provide a series of more intimate moments within the building. As they reach the top of the ramp, the user has the opportunity to transport themselves down to a covered courtyard that provides a direct connection with the former shopping centre. Situated underneath the bridge, it becomes an important part of the user's experience of the building. Within this space, the bridge provides shelter and comfort. Through blackness and shadows, one enters this space and begins the transition into the community gardens, but not before taking a moment to relax. Greeted by a raised garden full of scented flowers and herbs, the user is transported into a moment of reflection as they become reminiscent through the scents of rosemary, lavender, and other fragrances symbolic of their childhood. This experience will be intense and memorable, as will the materials themselves, full of memory and time, provided with a connection to the site and the subtle sounds of people and nature interacting together. As the user regains consciousness, they begin their transition from the shelter and comfort of this space to the outdoor courtyard that is situated on the northeastern side of the site. Within this courtyard we see a series of raised garden beds, an outdoor kitchen and eating area, and a community gathering space which offers its users an opportunity to immerse themselves in a range of different workshops where they can learn how to grow, harvest and cook their own food, as well as offering a chance to meet people and interact with each other. Adjoining the outdoor courtyard is an education centre and a reception area. A raked theatre and several small teaching spaces provide the opportunity for a range of different workshops and classes to run that focus on the education and importance of local food production. As we move up to the first floor again, I just wanted to take a moment to talk about the construction of the structure. Utilising a reinforced concrete and steel portal frame structure, along with a lightweight steel and polycarbonate cladding system, the bridge has been designed to be easily adapted and implemented into any site. Intended to be water harvesting and relatively self-sufficient, all the water is captured and stored within the steel columns and transported to storage tanks that are positioned within the wall cavities and then reticulated throughout to irrigate the different growing systems as needed. All services are housed underneath the bridge in a mesh cable tray system that allows easy access for the service and maintenance as the needs of the structure grow and change. Within the bridge, a series of extruded copper windows punctuate the polycarbonate facade. Each one individual in size has been incorporated to capture select views of the site and provide connections between the internal and external spaces. Once the user is back inside the bridge, they are confronted by a floor-to-ceiling aquaponics system that is illuminated by a glass roof and glows amongst the pockets of darkness within, as well as a series of wall gardens and planter boxes. To the right of them, they see a sliding copper door and are led towards it, intrigued by what it has to offer. As the user meanders their way down a lightweight steel gangway-style ramp, they are transported into a much more intimate space. Situated amongst the crops, a cafe and tasting room, placed just above ground level, where the user is provided the opportunity to observe, analyse the processes that occur on the site, whilst tasting and experiencing the produce, provides an opportunity for a moment of pause, a place where the senses can become aligned through the process of seeing, hearing, smelling and tasting. The next stage of the journey is the transition between the education spine and the former shopping centre. At this point, the user reaches the end of the bridge and is provided with a moment of pause. Confronted by a series of 4 grain silos, which insert themselves into the former shopping centre like a respiratory system does the human body, it is an essential part of the journey, one that provides them with an opportunity to see the harvesting stage firsthand, a process where a machine-operated auger transports the harvested grains from the ground and the workers on site up into 2 of the silos for future use. From this point, the user is provided an opportunity to go left or right, through an internal threshold and led into a 2-metre gangway platform. As they pass through the threshold of the door, the user becomes encased by a series of perforated steel wall panels, textured metal sheet flooring and oxidised metal roof that provides a sense of climax, intrigue and anticipation as to what comes next. The sound of footsteps on the sheet metal and the gentle breeze that filters through the perforations amplifies the suspense as the user reaches a turn. It is here that they are faced with an opening and a direct connection to one of the 4 grain silos. As they move towards the small opening, they are able to observe the other silos through the perforations in the metal wall and continue to watch the auger as it transports the grain into 2 of the silos, and as they draw closer, the noises amplify. Within these 2 silos, the user is faced with an opportunity to experience the sheer size of them and yet again provide a connection with the harvesting phase. Adjoining the other 2 silos are a control room and a series of access platforms. And as the user enters the grain silo, they become completely internalised, other than a glass light well at the top, and an internal void that connects them to the former shopping centre below. The echoes of footsteps and the sounds of people chatting and laughing below is projected up from the marketplace into the silos. It is here that the user is transported down to the fresh food marketplace via a hydraulic chain lift or a spiral staircase, and as they begin to reorient themselves with their location, they are able to reflect on the processes that they have just experienced. It is at this point that the user is reconnected with the distribution phase, an opportunity to wander the fresh food markets and indulge at their own leisure. Within the existing shopping centre, the central area that once housed a series of underutilised generic retail stores has now been stripped back to its bare structure, housing a series of market stalls that sell fresh and local produce. What traditionally housed the supermarket has now become a food production plantation nursery, where seedlings can be cultivated and grown. The food is cleaned and prepared for distribution, and fish are also farmed here. Users are invited into this space to purchase their own seedlings and also learn about the different methods of food production. At the other end of the shopping centre, there is a bakery, a cafe and a restaurant that utilise all of the produce that is grown on site and make it available for the public to experience and indulge in. And from this point, the user is provided the opportunity to venture out into the adjoining courtyard, which houses a series of raised garden beds, outdoor public space, and a connection with the surrounding site, where they can see the wheat, the rice, the barley, and the grains being grown. Situated below the bridge, this is a moment where the connection between the failures of the past and the hopes of the future can be aligned together. The juxtaposition of the sleek new education centre and the harshness of the old degraded shopping centre is a constant reminder to the users of the history of the site, and as the needs of the community grows and changes over time, and the remnants of what was once a suburban shopping centre will have been given a new life, one that inspires and educates people, transforming these places from what were once an inescapable consumer-driven machine into what is hoped will become an enriched place of production that is an essential part of the survival and growth of communities and mankind, the Community Food Hub and Education Centre.
Great.